a very warm welcome to a brand new episode of World's Panorama, the only show that gives you a 360-degree view of major global news. I'm Sana Khan. Before we get you detailed reports, here's a look at the top stories this week. President Barack Obama accepts Democratic nomination, tells Americans you are the change. Hillary Clinton's China visit fails to narrow US-China differences. China warns US not to take sides in the South China Sea territorial dispute. After Foreign Secretary-level talks, India and Pakistan's foreign ministers meet in Islamabad. Terrorism, trade, visas to top the agenda. And Swiss legend and five-time US Open winner Roger Federer, knocked out of the US Open quarters, faces worst defeat since 2003. And now straight to the story in focus this week. President Barack Obama on Thursday night accepted his party's nomination for a second term and made his case to the American people for staying the course in a slow economic recovery. Barack Obama urged wavering supporters not to give up on their dreams of change or on him. Obama used his nationally televised speech closing out the Democratic National Convention to try to recapture the excitement that powered his first run for presidency. Now, what was the impact of his speech? A speech that reached 35 million people across America. And how easy or tough is the road ahead for Obama as he sets out in the last leg of the presidential race against rival Republican Mitt Romney? We'll find out. This week, I'm pleased to welcome Suksena, senior journalist on the show. Welcome to the show, sir. But before that, a look at the Democratic Convention closely in this report. Wrapping up his party's three-day convention, US President Barack Obama accepted the Democratic nomination for a second term on Tuesday and argued his case for another 4 years.
Our problems can be solved. Our challenges can be met. The path we offer may be harder, but it leads to a better place, and I'm asking you to choose that future.
In his acceptance speech at the convention in Charlotte, North Carolina, Obama said the path he is offering the country isn't quick or easy, but he promised it leads to a better place.
America, I never said this journey would be easy, and I won't promise that now. Yes, our path is harder, but it leads to a better place. Yes, our road is longer, but we travel it together. We don't turn back. We leave no one behind. We pull each other up. We draw strength from our victories, and we learn from our mistakes, but we keep our eyes fixed on that distant horizon.
Obama's speech marked the climax of the three-day convention. First Lady Michelle Obama highlighted the first day, talking about her husband's humble roots and compassion.
Barack knows the American dream because he's lived it. And he wants everyone in this country, everyone, to have the same opportunity no matter who we are or where we're from or what we look like or who we love.
Bill Clinton, the popular former president who led the United States during years of prosperity, gave a rousing speech on Wednesday, vouching for Obama's economic policies and urging Americans not to turn back to Republicans.
He inherited a deeply damaged economy. He put a floor under the crash. He began the long, hard road to recovery and laid the foundation for a modern, more well-balanced economy that will produce millions of good new jobs, vibrant new businesses, and lots of new wealth for innovators.
Both candidates hit the campaign trail on Friday, hours before the U.S. Labor Department released its jobless report for August, a crucial economic indicator that both camps are watching anxiously. With unemployment remaining at a stubbornly high rate of 8.3% nationally, even a slight shift could strengthen the economic arguments for either Romney or Obama during a campaign dominated by the debate about job creation. With that, let me get in our guest, Suksena. Shobhan, first up, what do you feel about Obama's speech over there? We all know he's a great orator, but was he able to convey the message that he wanted to, the underlying theme being from change to hope?
I think my first reaction is his speech was disappointing. And I said it's disappointing because I compare it with his acceptance speech in 2008. When he talked about audacity of hope and change and yes, we can. This time he seems to be saying, vote for me if you can. He's asking for more time. I mean, the president said, I'm aware of my failings. I mean, you don't make such kind of statements in an acceptance speech. So, the New York Times had an interesting analysis of this, his speech saying that it's like that the president is stuck in a bad marriage and asking for a second chance, Now, it's the American people to give him a second chance or not.
Right.
But overall, the speech was disappointing and not really well, actually. Right.
Do you also feel it was short on specifics? If you look at the jobs report that came, of course, hours later, but still that could prove to be a big boost for Romney.
Yeah, because the president said the country is on the road to recovery and the situation is improving. But the job report which came immediately after the convention said just 96,000 jobs were added in August.
Right.
And the unemployment rate is 8.1. So the world's biggest economy, $15 trillion economy,
right.
If the unemployment rate is 8.1%, it's really very disappointing. So it's all going to go against President Obama for sure.
Absolutely. Though we know that the fight is very close, it's absolutely neck and neck between Obama and Romney. And the core concern for the voters right now is how the economy is doing and how Obama has really failed to, fight out the situation that first emerged with recession back in 2008.
Right. Yeah.
So, is this going to be a very, very key factor in deciding that, 10% undecided voters, which we see right now? What are the main points do you think the voters will be looking at, the main issues?
I think in his speech, the President Obama was putting the ball in the court of the voters, saying, no, it's up to you to continue the change. But the voters are going to ask some very hard questions. Where are the jobs? Where's the money? Where's the insurance? Where are the houses? And I'm afraid the president don't have answers to these questions because people have lost their jobs, people have lost social security, people have lost their houses, people are not able to send their kids to colleges, And the situation is quite bleak and it's not likely to improve. So I think President Obama's record on the economy front is pretty bad.
Adding to that, if we go back to what he said in his speech, he said that, we are going to create 1 million jobs and people cheered and lauded him on that. But again, going back to the point, he didn't say how, when, where, how is he going to do that? Because he had this last term to come out of that situation, which he wasn't clearly able to do so. But even Bill Clinton, who stood out in support of Obama, said that it would be difficult for any president to, tackle the situation that Obama did.
Right.
So how much of a difference do you think Bill Clinton standing up and saying those words, did it make a difference?
I don't think so, because in the 2008 speech, President Obama used the word promise 37 times. This time he used the word promise 7 times.
Okay.
So people are going to ask you very tough questions. What happened to your promises you made in 2008? President Clinton's speech was really very good. He blamed the Republicans for the mess America is in.
Right.
But the president, the current president is President Obama, a Democrat. So people are going to ask, what have you done in the past 4 years? You can't just blame it on Republicans and get away with it. Because people are going to ask tough questions. Where's the change in their life? Right? Yeah.
Apart from the economics of it, there are a few positives that came with Obama. The raid that killed Osama bin Laden, tackling terrorism, the way the healthcare system. A lot of important things also have happened. Yeah. Will they be able to outweigh the present concerns that people have?
I think Medicare is a really important development, and a lot of Americans really care about their health care. So they want a good healthcare system. So I think this may bring some votes in favor of President Obama. I don't think the common American really cares about if Osama bin Laden is alive today or not.
Right.
They're concerned more about their lives, which are in pretty bad shape. So I don't think that Osama will be a factor in this election. Okay. Medicare, yes. But how many votes he'll be able to swing because of that is difficult to say at the moment. Because the economic condition in total is really very bleak.
Right. That remains to be a very crucial point. Now, also Michelle Obama, on the opening day of the convention, she made quite an emotional appeal to the crowd over there. What did you feel about that? Was she able to add that personal touch, and was she... a lot of positives have been said about her, if you read in journals. Yeah,
you have to remember it's a democratic convention. It's like a wedding. It's like a stage managed show. So you're talking your territory. So Michelle Obama coming and talking, because there's no challenge here, right? So of course, it's same thing happened in the Republic Convention. Mitt Romney's wife, she came. They were saying, Mitt loves his wife, and wife loves him, and Michelle loves Obama loves his wife. These things are said, but I think the American voter is not really going to pay much attention to it because the country is in a very difficult position. People are really worried about their lives, their future, and they're going to ask tough questions, and the president has to answer those questions. Okay.
We would have loved to, talk more about this, but we'll have to wrap up over here. Thanks, Shobhan, very much for joining us this week. So the question still remains, two key states, Florida and Ohio. We'll have to wait and watch over the next 60 days what happens to the battle, who emerges as the next president of US. Once again, thanks, Shobhan, for joining me on the show this week.
Thanks.
With that, we take a very short break. After that, World Panorama gets you the whole story of the brutal killings in France. Stay tuned. You're watching World Panorama. US Secretary of State Hillary Clinton met Chinese President Hu Jintao on Wednesday as part of a Beijing visit that will test her diplomacy amid maritime disputes and a sensitive political transition. Clinton repeated her call for a code of conduct to be agreed between China and ASEAN nations to lower tensions over the South China Sea issue. While China has repeatedly hit out at US involvement in maritime disputes with its Southeastern Asian neighbors. Here's more.
China and the United States were divided over how to diffuse tension in the South China Sea and other global trouble spots, but stressed hope for steady ties as they navigate political transitions at home. Clinton and Chinese Foreign Minister Yang Jiechi vowed goodwill after talks, which had been preceded by criticism from Beijing of Clinton's calls for a multilateral solution to the territorial disputes in the South and East China Seas.
I reiterated, as I have on many occasions, the United States does not take a position on competing territorial claims. Our interest is in the maintenance of peace and stability, respect for international law, freedom of navigation, and unimpeded lawful commerce. And as a friend to the countries involved, we do believe it's in everyone's interests that China and ASEAN engage in a diplomatic process toward the shared goal of a code of conduct.
China has been specially irked by the US-backed proposals for a multilateral approach to resolving such disputes, preferring to negotiate separately with each of the far less powerful Asian claimants.
As for the disputes over the sovereignty of the Spratly Islands and the overlapping interests and claims over parts of the South China Sea, these should be discussed by the countries directly involved with respect for historical facts and international law, and handled and settled through direct negotiations and friendly consultation.
Neither side gave ground on the South China Sea disputes, which have emerged as a persistent irritant, reflecting suspicions in Beijing that the Obama administration is seeking to curb Chinese influence. Clinton has pledged to deliver a strong message to Beijing this week on the need to calm regional tensions over disputed islands that have raised broader fears of military friction between the two major Pacific powers. China's claims over much of the South China Sea have put it at loggerheads with Vietnam, the Philippines, and other Southeast Asian nations.
The mystery of the French Alps shooting, in which 3 members of a British family were murdered in their car, has deepened as police officials hunt for a motive. Here's what we know.
Media gathered outside the Surrey home of the family at the centre of the French Alps shooting on Thursday as 2 surviving girls remained under police protection in France. The owner of the car, who was found dead at the wheel, has been identified as an Iraqi-born Briton called Saad Al-Hili from Claygate in Surrey in southern England. 2 women believed to be the children's mother and grandmother were also found shot dead in the car.
At the stage when rescuers arrived, we hit 5 people, 5 dead adults and 1 very seriously wounded child, who was evacuated and whose condition is stable.
The little girl spent 8 hours crouching beneath her mother's corpse after the first firemen and police officers to arrive on the scene failed to spot her. President François Hollande said French authorities will do everything in their power to find the perpetrators.
Nous ferons tout.
We will do our utmost to find the perpetrators, to find the reason and truth behind this terrible drama. Like David Cameron has said, our police forces are cooperating and will share all information.
Comme l'a dit David Cameron,
Hilly was originally from Iraq and living in Surrey, having come to the UK in the 1970s to avoid persecution from Saddam Hussein's regime. He was in the French Alps with his family on holiday when the incident took place. While some have speculated that Hilly's Iraqi background may have played a role in the murders, others have suggested that the family may have been embroiled in a heated argument in the run-up to the tragedy.
And fighting raged in Syria as troops and pro-regime neighborhood militias clashed with rebels in the central region of Homs, and as combat rattled Damascus in the area around the besieged city of Aleppo. After a 3-day trip to Syria, International Committee of the Red Cross president said that the conflict is rapidly deteriorating as wounded people are dying due to lack of proper medical aid. Here's more. As the Syrian regime continues to fight rebels across Damascus, activists say residents have found 45 bodies in 2 towns. Amateur videos posted on a social media website claim to show footage of smoke ascending from buildings after bombardment in what is said to be Damascus's southern district of Tadamon. In Syria's southern province of Deira, rebels say 45 army tanks were sent to the border town of Tel Shehab, an anti-Assad stronghold which has served as a transit point for refugees crossing into Jordan. The Arab League met on Wednesday. The assembled foreign ministers passed a number of resolutions, the most important of which was to support the Palestinian government's plan to push for non-member observer state status at the United Nations later this month.
Some resolutions have been taken, among the most important of which undoubtedly is the one related to the Palestinian cause and the total support of the Palestinian state being taken to the General Assembly.
Earlier this week, UN Chief Ban Ki-moon and new joint UN and Arab League envoy Lakhdar Brahimi addressed the UN General Assembly about the situation in Syria.
I repeated my consistent demand that all sides must cease all forms of violence. In particular, the government must halt its use of heavy weapons.
Mr. President, I am looking forward to my visit to Damascus in a few days' time, and also, when convenient and possible, to all the countries who are in a position to help the Syrian-led political process become a reality, leading to a transition that respects the legitimate aspirations of the Syrian people.
Veteran Algerian diplomat Brahimi replaced Kofi Annan as the international mediator on the Syrian conflict. The United Nations says nearly 20,000 people have been killed in the conflict, which was sparked by a popular uprising against Assad. British rock band Rolling Stones are back, announced new greatest hits album with 2 brand new songs. Stay tuned for more on that. Thanks for staying with us. Time now to take a look at some of the other international news in a quick wrap. Here's Globe Watch.
India and Pakistan signed a much-awaited liberalized visa agreement on Saturday, introducing for the first time group tourist and pilgrim visas, separate visa for businessmen and visa on arrival for those over 65 years of age. The new pact, signed between External Affairs Minister S.M. Krishna and Pakistan Interior Minister Rahman Malik, replaced a 38-year-old restrictive visa agreement and will pave the way for time-bound visa approval and greater people-to-people contact. According to the new visa regime, the elderly will be exempt from reporting to the police, thus allowing people from either country to visit 3 earmarked cities instead of 1. Apart from the easing of visa norms, a number of confidence-building measures for Jammu and Kashmir were also signed. A suicide bomber detonated explosives near the heavily barricaded NATO headquarters in Kabul on Saturday, killing 6 civilians. The blast was the latest example of how militants are able to strike the heart of the Afghan capital even after more than a decade of fighting Western forces with far superior firepower. It also raises questions about Afghan forces' ability to combat insurgents once most foreign troops leave by the end of 2014. Twin earthquakes and a spate of aftershocks struck southwestern China on Friday, toppling thousands of houses and sending boulders cascading across roads. At least 67 people were killed and hundreds injured in the remote mountainous area, and more than 100,000 residents were evacuated. China's premier visited with earthquake victims on Saturday.
And if you've missed the week's biggest sporting events, here's your chance to catch up. We bring you sports action.
Roger Federer was knocked out of the US Open on Wednesday when he lost a quarter-final thriller to Thomas Berdych, marking his earliest exit from New York in 9 years. The world #1 was unable to conjure up any of his old magic after the Czech made a flying start and stormed to a surprise victory 6-7, 4-6, 6-3, 3-6. For Federer, a 5-time winner at the US Open, it marked the first time he had failed to make the semis since 2003. Swashbuckling batsman Yuvraj Singh, who is staging a comeback into international cricket after recovering from a rare germ cell cancer, said he's counting the hours daily on his impending return, which he described as a huge moment in his life. The 30-year-old has spent his last 5 months building back to full fitness after being struck down by cancer that required chemotherapy treatment in the United States. McLaren's Jenson Button won the Belgian Grand Prix from pole position on Sunday after a first corner carnage ended the hopes of teammate Lewis Hamilton and Ferrari's Fernando Alonso. Button enjoyed an untroubled afternoon in the Belgian sunshine, taking the checkered flag 13.6 seconds clear of Red Bull's double world champion Sebastian Vettel. Finland's Kimi Räikkönen took 3rd place for Lotus. World #1 Rory McIlroy clinched his 5th PGA Tour title with a one-shot victory over South Africa's Louis Oosthuizen at the Deutsche Bank Championship on Monday. McIlroy, who began the 3rd round 3 shots back of Oosthuizen, fired a 4 under 67 in the final round for 20 under 264 that handed the Irishman the second of the PGA Tour's 4 FedEx Cup playoff events. The win puts McIlroy level with Woods for the most wins on the PGA Tour this season.
Time now for all the very latest news from the world of movies and lifestyle. Here's our entertainment wrap.
The supernatural thriller The Possession ranked #1 on US and Canadian box office charts on Sunday, dethroning 2-time champ Expendables 2 over the long US holiday weekend. Possession pulled in nearly $18 million in North American ticket sales over the weekend and was expected to reach $21 million. The Rolling Stones have announced the release of a new Greatest Hits album to commemorate their 50th anniversary. The album will be available in various different formats. In addition to their classics, the collection will also include 2 new studio songs, Gloom and Doom and One Last Shot. The Stones announced that they are set to play a series of 4 concerts this coming November in New York and London. Saudi Arabia's first female director has made her debut at the Venice Film Festival, exploring the limitations placed on women in the conservative Islamic kingdom through the tale of a strong-willed 10-year-old girl living in Riyadh. The film, which the director says is the first to have been entirely shot in Saudi Arabia, follows the everyday life of young Wadja and her attempts to circumvent restrictions and break social barriers. Director Haifa Al-Mansour said Wadja aimed to portray the segregation of women in Saudi Arabia, where they hold a lower legal status to men. In other news from Venice, Selena Gomez and James Franco headed out for a glamorous night out on Tuesday on the eve of the world premiere of their raunchy new film Spring Breakers. The duo were joined by their co-stars Vanessa Hudgens, Ashley Benson and Rachel Corrin.
That's all we have for you in this edition of World Panorama. I'll be back next week, same time, with more world news. Till then, you can join us on Facebook and Twitter for the latest news from us. This week, we wrap up showing you Russian President Vladimir Putin as he pilots hang glider to lead young, endangered white Siberian cranes in flight. He's a former KGB officer and has been photographed in the past riding horses in southern Siberia, searching for ancient pottery in the Black Sea, and even swimming in a Siberian lake. Goodbye and thanks for watching.